Forgetful Verren hit his head on the monastery, but I'm here to do his job. These are the tips he should have given you. Let's go. All the tips in the video will be divided into segments, so you can directly jump to the ones you care about and also skip the ones you already know. So, keyboard shortcuts. Very simple stuff, but very useful. Control key, used to drop things into the ground instead of having to drag and drop. Also used to get into attack mode. When you're in melee, it just converts your click into a sword and you can attack whatever. But when you have a ranged weapon equipped, you can see your range, which is pretty useful to see when people or enemies are in your range. Shift key. Shift key is used to transfer things between containers at a faster pace. Containers also count as shops. So here I can just shift click and I will buy and sell everything I want. You can use space when you're in a container to transfer everything from the container to your inventory. And you can click R to rest. But be wary because you can only see enemies once again to this small circle around you. You can click space to skip a turn in the world. You can have up to 2 loadouts equipped. And you can change between them with the W key. Finally, you can use the Alt key to consume herbs, medicines, water, food, like this. You can also use Alt to equip and unequip things at a faster pace. And finally, you can use Alt to open the purse or a backpack. Another key that you usually have pressed all the time in this game is Alt. This way, you can see everything that is on the floor and that you can loot. And if a red hand appears around it, it means that you're stealing it. So be careful when you're doing that. One last tip that I will add to the keyboard shortcut, even though it's actually a mouse shortcut, I guess. It is that you can hold out the middle mouse button and drag, and then you can see the whole map. And then you can click wherever in the map, and your character will go there. Bit of a warning though, your character will go the shortest route towards the place you clicked. So if that route is not explored, your character will explore it and you might find enemies. So if you have gone to take a piss or for a glass of water, you might come back to 3 wolves chasing you. Let's proceed with some food tips. So first of all, this guy, which is the butcher, sometimes would actually sell things like a ham, which doesn't really expire, which is really good food. It fixes your hunger and you can keep it on your drawer or on your chest. And it will never expire. So it's a good backup food to have. And then you can buy meat from him and you can buy veggies from her and fruit from her. Then if you want to cook your own meat, I think most of us at the beginning of the game will survive through lentil soup and meat skewers. But there is something that you have to be very careful with meat skewers if you're doing them with mushrooms. There are 2 mushrooms in the game that will make your meat skewer give you intoxication and poison. One of them is called Death Cap, which as its name indicates, it's pretty fucking dangerous. So, well, I will just show you. Well, I ate it because I clicked Alt. But if you would put it here, your meat skewer will come up with 100% poison chance and 100% intoxication. I will show you with the other mushroom, which is the fly agaric, which also has intoxication change when you eat it raw. But if you cook with it, you put 2 mushrooms here, you choose meat skewer. Your meat skewer will come up with a 25% increase to your intoxication and a 25% chance of poisoning you. Eating 2 of these will probably kill you. These 2 mushrooms are safe. You can just cook and you will get the normal. Before we die, never mind. I was going to show you that you can buy prepared plates from the innkeeper or his wife. I guess you will have to believe me. Now that we are alive again, I want to talk about how fruit is very good for its value. It fixes hunger and thirst, 3% hunger and 4% thirst, and it gives you immunity, which is a very important stat. So you can just, every time you come back from a dungeon, you might want to buy the whole stash of fruit that she has and just eat it. So in total, if you buy the 10 fruits that she has, it will give you 15%, which means you have to buy it 5 times to get 125% immunity, and then you're done. Ravens are attracted to bodies. So if you remember where you've killed some bandits, you can come back the day after, kill the ravens, pluck them, and get free meat. You can drink in any well by left-clicking it, and you can refill your water skin by right-clicking, collect water, and then left-clicking on your water skin. Some bandit camps also have barrels of water where you can do the same. Alcohol in this game is a double-edged sword. It actually gives you a very nice buff, but it also increases your intoxication and your thirst by quite a bit. You get more pain resistance, more weapon damage, a little bit less accuracy, more dodge chance, and a little bit of morale. I think it's worth for like boss combats maybe, or hard combats, especially because of the damage and the pain resistance. Let's talk a little bit about shops and supply and demand. So this is Frit, the herbalist of the city. He will sell you medicine, and here in this little icon you have supply and demand. Supply is at how much he will sell stuff to you. So he will sell it at 100% value. 1x. Demand is at what value he will buy things off of you. So he will buy medicine at 36% of the value. Let's put an example. He will sell healing salves for 50 gold, which is 100% of the value, but he will buy them for 18, which is 36% of the value. This is with everything. Every shop has this, and you can see where to sell what by looking at this demand. And you can also look at the About tab, which will tell you what the trader is interested in and when he restocks. If we go up here, we will find the tailor shop, which you have to go inside. This is the only shop you have to go inside. This guy will be interested in everything that is leather and the supply and demand of this guy. He will give you more gold for leather, for cloth, for gold, for silver, and for gems. I don't know why sometimes they use the 0.2x and sometimes they just put percentages in. This guy can also repair everything that is leather. So my armor, my cape, my hat here will be leather and he would be able to repair it. And then right here is the carpenter here, which he does everything related to wood, you guessed it. Again, supply and demand is here. You can check everything out. You can check what he's interested in, and he will repair anything made out of wood. For instance, my crossbow. Finally, we have the blacksmith here. Again, you can check the same things here, and this guy will sell everything related to metal. So my helmet, for instance, could be repaired here. One bonus one is this guy, which is like a general merchant. He will buy almost anything out of you, and he will sell various things. But you can see that his supply, the markup is 1.05. which means he sells everything at 105% value. So 5% more expensive than if you would buy this weapon in the blacksmith. But perhaps the blacksmith doesn't have this weapon. So yeah, same thing. He usually buys things off of you a bit cheaper, but you could always just come here and sell everything to him. It's just easier if you're interested in that. One thing that I would consider a must buy is a crowbar. Crowbars are usually used to deactivate traps. They deactivate traps with 100% chance of success, at least in the early game. You use crowbars as well to open doors in the crypt. Finally, you can lockpick doors around the city to steal from people. If you find jewelry or valuables such as these, you can put them in your purse to save space. And once you want to sell them, you can open your purse and move them out. Every herb in the game will give some sort of health benefit. Whether it be health regeneration, it helps fix a broken part of your body. But the one I found myself going back to find is hemp. Hemp reduces pain, increases morale, and increases immunity, which I found was really useful, especially for a melee character. However, if you're planning on using herbs, remember that they cause a lot of thirst, so be sure to have water nearby.
The best use for hemp, instead of eating it raw, is to craft it into a smoking mix. Fred, the herbalist of Osbrook, will sell the recipe to you. You just have to open the crafting, put a stick and a hemp, and you will craft it. And you have a smoking mix, which will reduce the pain by 0.05% for 360 turns, which will result into 18% pain reduce. Another thing I wanted to mention is that if you throw things to the ground, they will disappear eventually. I'm not sure how long it takes, but they will. Once it's evening, NPCs will gather in the tavern, and it's a good way to have them all together to ask them for POIs. Hear anything interesting? And then sometimes they will give you... wait, let's have a chat. There you go. You get a new POI if you're trying to farm this to get more experience or to get anything. Well, sometimes you're unlucky and you get them here. And now that everyone is also gathered here, it's probably the best time you have to go and steal. So let's talk about stealing tips. If you put crowns, gold, into your pack, it doesn't count as stolen anymore. And you can do this with all the NPCs that are on the bar right now. All the shops are on the bar. So you can, now that we got a crowbar, we can open different things. And then everything that has been stolen, you just leave here for a couple days. And it stops being stolen. They like forget about it, you know. But let's take the lentils since it's giving me issues here. And they will stop being stolen. This is risky. I should probably leave them. Because if they catch me with something that is stolen in my inventory,
they can also fuck me up. Girl comes here. So we buy 1 veggie. We could have taken the onion from upstairs, to be fair. And then we go in here and we just cook this for a lentil soup. See, has no stolen, no nothing. And we can put the lentil in the bowl. This way, all the lentils you took is free food. You have to be very careful with having stolen goods in your inventory because they can catch you. A guard can come in. I'll put a clip from my stream here. Oh. Oh. What do I have? Do I have stolen stuff? Oh, the apple. So, you're in the Drunken Woodsman Inn, and what I want to show you here is that you can steal everything from here as well. And it will be a nice influx for the early game. And then that guard is like useless, so you can take this. If you want the rag, you can take it. Don't tend to. He's not looking, he's like looking away. You can see it, you can just pick this. And you can go in, and then here you have some pelts, you have another apple, you have a claw trap, you have a fatty meat, deer antlers, and a deer pelt, which are really nice. These are valid for 180, and this is valid for 150. The good thing is that if you travel to another city, you can sell these things. But yeah, so we sell this, he does not want the antlers. 42, see, this is what I mean. He buys them for a little bit less. Doesn't really make a difference though. And I think that's all about stealing that you can do in the early game. Obviously, you can do this in every city that you find. Just be careful with the guards. And obviously, be careful not to get caught when you have things stolen in your inventory. Try to leave them as fast as you can in a container. Recently, watching Oakmal, I learned that if you eat one of the stacks of something that has stacks and it's edible, it will lose the stolen status. So that's great. And as you can see, all of the things here, or most of the things here, have already lost their stolen status, and I could just sell them. So let's start with some tips that I don't really know in which section to put. So I'll just drop them all here together and call them Miska tips. But first of all, graves. They can actually contain some nice loot, but you have to be very careful. You should always have a shovel when doing them, and you should always be careful because your morale will get devastated. Every time you click one of these, I was at 99% morale. Opening one grave took me to 81%. Also, at the end, it lowers your sanity to actually open the grave. If you have a shovel, I believe you can do this in 2 hits. It will still take morale and sanity out of you, but at least it will only be 2 hits. If you want to travel the safest way, or you just want to get very far and you're afraid what you might encounter on the way, it's always safer to travel on the edges, because you can always change map if you see something, or if you get scared of something, and it will just be the less likely that you get ambushed if you just go through the edge. From the pelts that we stole, I always keep the boar pelt because you can craft a bedroll with it, and it will give you 250 experience. If you have these 3 things, you can craft this, and it will give you a whole level up from level 1 to level 2. Give you 250 experience. I had 100 before. You can see it down here, bedroll, 250 experience. And now I can start the whole game with level 2, and if you like using bedrolls, you have a bedroll. So I can't stress this next tip enough. You really should get used to using examine surroundings in this game. It will find everything around you. If it's traps or if it's snakes, so you don't get bitten by snakes. And it reveals everything in this area. And if you move 1 square or a few squares, you have to do it again. And this way, you will never get hit by traps or snake bites. Sometimes around the map, you will find beehives. I've never seen one with enemies, and they just give free food. A little quick one is that exploring gives you experience. You can see, discover the mill, I got 50 experience. Lastly, for the misc tips, this guy usually tells you to find his key. You don't even need to talk to him, doesn't give any experience, and the only thing he gets you is to open the shed. So you can just go around and you will find the key eventually. Here. So we can even go back to him now, and I will prove to you that it doesn't give any XP, so it doesn't really matter. As far as I know, this doesn't change anything. Now you can unlock it. I didn't get any XP or anything, and you can just go here now and you open the shed key. And then here you usually have some food and stuff. Yeah, exactly.